Okay, I'm going to keep us right on schedule because I want to just be really respectful of everyone who's joining us live tonight. Hey, my name is Becky Page. I am a Diamond brand ambassador with Plexus, and I'm looking at our audience right now, and I know that a lot of you have either been with Plexus for a while, or you've been a brand ambassador for a bit, or maybe you're even a VIP customer. So can you tell me in the chat, give me a 1 if you're a brand ambassador, and give me a 2 if you're a VIP customer. And if you are not either, let's say maybe you're actually just kind of considering tonight, someone's invited you to listen in on this call and you're like, oh, I'm not really sure, I'm just going to listen in. Let us know if you are not even joined Plexus yet by giving us a 3 in the chat. And then make sure, tell us where you're joining from tonight. Tonight's call is called a belief call. So we used to do this for a long time. We would, every month, we'd either share health testimonials or business testimonials. And we took a break for a bit. And then last month, we had some rank ups that were so fun. And I reached out to my friend and sponsor, Andrea, and I was like, you know what we need? We need another belief call. So that's what this is. I want you guys to hear from 3 ladies tonight who I know all 3. And I want you to hear their stories, because what I want is for you to be inspired. Maybe it'll cast a little bit of vision for you tonight on whether or not God might be calling you to do this. So without further ado, and I'm going to use some Plexus insider language. I'll try to make it clear for you, but we're going to talk to 3 people who are nearing the very top of the company. We're going to talk about their ranks, and I'll try to explain just a bit as I introduce each of them. And I want to start off with someone who I've known since I was 3 years old. In fact, when I started praying about and thinking about sharing Plexus, she was one of the people that I thought, I'm going to reach out to her. But we had not been face to face for maybe 2 decades at the time. So Ashley Young is from my hometown. I think we met when we were 3. My dad was her pastor when we were growing up. And what I loved about Ashley is I knew that she knew almost everybody in our tiny little hometown in small northeastern Georgia, but I also knew that she has a really good heart for helping people. She had been an EMT at the time, and in her past, she had an older daughter, and she had just started having young babies. And so I knew that she was sort of in this big shift in her life. Here's the deal. Ashley joined me in my team right around 10 years ago. She can clarify the dates, and then we did this. She really quickly built a team. She came to convention. She was really active with her business. She was getting poured into. And then y'all tell me if this sounds familiar. 2020 hit. Ashley had a senior in high school. I don't know if any of you guys had babies who were going through high school graduation during 2020 when the whole world shut down. And so sort of like a little death of a dream when all of that happened. And then she was also trying to launch her daughter into college. And I just knew she is a mother who has dementia. Her husband travels for work. I knew that the stressors of life were catching up with her. And she basically, Ash, I'll let you share a little bit more about this, but she basically walked away from her business for about 2 years. And because I've known her since we were little, I knew that she felt really guilty. And I hated that, because the benefit of Plexus is that you can build an entire income and you can walk away and still get paid. It's a great thing. It's also a hard thing. But I knew that she felt bad. And it was 2 years when she called me last January, and she was like, I bet you don't even want to hear from me. Y'all will get to hear her Georgia drawl. And I was like, I'm thrilled to hear from you. So I kind of want to pick it up there, Ashley. My first question for you tonight has to do with what was going on for you? What made you decide that you wanted to come back, and what changed really in your business that allowed you to come right back in and find actually quick success?
Okay, so I took a break, of course, those 2 years. And during that time, and probably before that time, I had been trying to do some digging and working on myself. I've always had self-doubt, negative mindset. I've always believed in the company, but didn't believe in myself. And so I was always one of those people that was kind of I wanted it from the get-go, like when I, knew what the opportunity and stuff was, but I did not believe that I could actually, do it myself. Anyway, so I'd been working on myself, but just kind of stepped away, really just felt like that Plexus was not where I needed to be. And in 2022, my husband and I were trying to decide what I was going to do in the spring and fall of 2023, because my little boy was going to be starting kindergarten, and I knew that like he was not going to let me stay at home and just not have some type of income. So I was praying, and I'm one of those people that like I literally have to have a billboard. And during quiet time one morning, I was like, Lord, like you need to show me exactly where I need to be. And sitting at the dining room table, just clear as day, it was like, you've not been doing Plexus for 8.5 years for nothing. This is where you're supposed to be. So I reached out to Becky then, told her, and she was like, okay, we're going to pray about it. And we're just going to ask for the Lord to, give you confirmation that this is where you're supposed to be. And if this is, where really what you're supposed to be doing, then, for him to show you. So the other thing that she told me to do was immediately start sharing. And so I started sharing on my Facebook, and people literally come out of the woodwork. I mean, I just, people that had been with me previously and stopped, and then people that had stuck with me, they started picking back up. So
I remember like exactly where I was when we were on the phone. And I remember one of the things that God had really impressed on my heart was that I didn't want to drag people into Plexus. I didn't want to convince people. I had tried that at one point, and then of course, if they ever walked away, I kept thinking, what's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? And I remember God had really told me, why don't you just stop worrying and ask people to pray about it? And I remember saying to you, let's pray that he really affirms you. And you posted, and then you messaged me, and you're like, I've got like 9 people, people who are interested. So it's been pretty incredible to see what God has done in your business in the past year. I think you were right around 70 something points when you came back. And if you're not familiar with our points system, that just means that's our profit sharing program. And Ashley she had fallen far back in her rank where she had a few customers, but she went from this certain place in the profit sharing to really just like ranking back up very quickly with a lot of momentum. Ashley, what are some habits that you have that help you keep a customer base and also help you grow new team members?
My biggest thing as far as customers is following up. Like I'm constantly reaching out, following up. And when as soon as someone buys from me, or either right before they buy from me, I always ask for them to keep open communication, because to me, that's the biggest thing. And like a lot of people are like, if they miss a, day or whatever, or if they get off track, they are ashamed, or they don't want to reach out and be like, and I tell people, if I don't know, I can't help you. And I just ask them, I even tell them like, look, if this is not for you, it's 100% okay. Reach out, tell me, I will help you get your refund. I would rather you be happy that you got your money back than be unhappy with products that you're not using on your counter. And I think that helps to let people know that I'm not just trying to make a sale, that I really want to help them. And then just following up as far as my customers. And then as far as my team, I've just really been trying to encourage people to work on their mindsets. That's so big for me, is because over the last year, longer than the last year, but really the last year, podcast, anything that I can read and listen to, and then encouraging my team to do the same thing.
Yeah, and it shows. I mean, I've known you for a long time. I knew you like round 1 in your business, and round 2 right now. I've seen so much personal growth, but I also think it helps that we have you and I talk probably every day almost. And so there's a lot of communicating back and forth between us and then your team. I think you are so good at customer service. You are so good at helping people get the best start possible. And I feel like that's a reflection of your team as well. Okay, last question. What is your top tip? Let's say if you're talking to someone tonight who's maybe been interested, dabbled in the business before, maybe they had a time where they were really working this as an entrepreneur, using it as a business, and then maybe life got in the way. Something happened, they went through a season where they've had to back off. What's your top tip for them on how to return to their business?
Reach out to their sponsor and post immediately. And don't do it like you're ashamed. Like, don't be like apologetic or, explain anything, why you stepped away. It's not really anybody else's business why you stepped away. I mean, if there's something you want to share, share it. But otherwise, just post and post boldly and pour into yourself. Anything that you can do, books, podcast, work on your mindset.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Ashley hit senior Ruby in July, and it was so fun to watch her get that rank up. She'd never gone senior Ruby before. It was really incredible. And what that means is her next rank is the first Jewel rank. And at Jewel, you get the Lexus, you get the paid trip. This year it is to Maui, Hawaii. Next year it's an Alaskan cruise. But also, aside from profit sharing, you also get paid out of what we call the Jewel pool. So this is this extra pocket of money that you receive money from every month. And so your paycheck goes up exponentially. I honestly, and Ashley knows, like we kind of feel like hitting the senior Ruby rank is like running through, a yellow light. Like we're just going to hit it and keep going through on the next round to Emerald. But I'm so excited for your business. I had the best July watching you rank up. Okay. Thanks, Ash. I want to introduce you guys to someone. I'm really excited for you to hear her story because honestly, I've just been watching her. April Evans, do you remember that we met on the cruise last November? I don't know if you remember, but I met you mainly through Jessica Coblentz, who I got to meet for the first time. Correct me if I'm wrong. You were just a customer on this cruise, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us just a little bit about how you ended up on this cruise as a customer, by the way? Give us some backstory.
So just a little backstory. Jessica and I have known each other for years. We were friends, but we were more like we were in the same season of our kids' lives, and our boys played baseball together. So I always, our kids kind of grew up together. And so I've been quietly watching her for 8 years post about her supplements that I did not need because I was healthy. And then reached out to her after having my 5th baby at 40 and was like, okay, I need these now. Fast forward, I used them for, let's say I started in January, but then I wasn't consistent till July. And then she sent me a voice message and said, I guess it was, October, and said, hey, this is going to sound crazy, but I have an extra ticket to this cruise that I earned for Plexus. Do you want to go with me? And my knee-jerk reaction was to say no, because that's just what I do. I just say no because I have 5 children and that's just too much to shuffle. And I said, well, let me ask my husband. That's always kind of my crutch for I don't want to tell you no, so I'm going to blame it on him for saying no. And so I go and talk to Scott and he's like, you should go. And I'm like, really? So I went with Jessica on the cruise, but I did tell her before I went, I said, I have to ask you a question. Are y'all gonna get me out on this boat in the middle of the ocean and make me sell Plexus and make me agree to sell Plexus before I can come home? And she was like, no, I just thought you'd be fun to hang out with. So I went on the cruise with Jessica. I did not go to any of the meetings. And Melissa Deaton was like, you got to go to the meetings. If you're thinking about selling, you've got to go to the meetings. And I'm like, no, I'm going to sleep in. I'm not interested. So the whole cruise, I was just a customer for sure.
I think someone must have pulled me aside and just said, oh, she's just, or maybe it was Jessica. I can't remember. It was either Jessica or maybe Julia told me she's a customer. And meanwhile, my brain is like, brilliant. What a brilliant move on the part.
Yes. My advice is if you can take a customer that you think would be good at the business on one of the trips with you, it's a great idea.
Absolutely. Okay. I've got to point out to y'all, this was November. Okay. November, April was just a customer enjoying a free cruise with her friend. What a brilliant plan. And listen, it doesn't always work this way, but when did you decide and why did you decide to actually begin to not only share Plexus, but really begin to push for a growing business?
So I know we are limited on time, but I have been social selling for 15 years, just tons of different, my own businesses that were failures with my sister, a few different ones. I actually sold LuLaRoe for a few years. And then I ran my own, or I still own my own online clothing boutique that's been very successful as far as sales go. But when I was on the cruise and I just was like, kind of, my wheels just started turning about the things I was hearing, the people I was talking to, the amount of money they were making. And being in retail, I knew how to make a lot of money, but I also knew how much money it cost to make a lot of money. I was literally paying $8,000 to $10,000 a month in inventory just for my boutique, just to keep a certain sale level. And so I started like in my head running numbers, and I was like, I can make this much, which is more than I've ever made profit with it only costing me my own supplements. So I really just, it kind of just like the light bulb went off. Like everything I've done up until this point, I truly believe has led me to where I am. And I knew this business just from, because I knew Jessica had done it for 8 years. And all the people I met on the cruise were like, she's been doing it for 10 years. She's been doing it for, however long. And it was like, okay, this is really something that I feel like I can do. And so when we got back from the cruise, I reached out to Jessica and I said, okay, and I think we've all said this. Okay, what do I have to do just to get my products covered? Like, what does that look like? So I just started posting and it kind of just went from there.
There's something you said, and I want to mention this for anybody who's listening and who immediately like wants to push April's testimony aside because you're saying, oh, see, she already had experience, or, oh, she had a lot of network because of her online store. Here's what I want you to hear is that she was already an entrepreneur. Okay. So she understood sales and she decided to go in on this opportunity because I think a lot of times we say, oh, well, she has some advantage I didn't have. And what I want to say is, do you know someone like this? Do you know someone who's already an entrepreneur and might be able to see how selling with Plexus would have way bigger dividends than maybe doing retail or a different compensation plan? Because I feel like that's really important. April, what are some key elements that helped you and your team get into so much momentum?
I really honestly believe it was because I have always been a single entrepreneur running my own business. It's always depended on me, and I've never really needed a team. I just did it myself. But when I really started to understand that the way this business grows and how you do become successful is by training other people under you. And so I really started identifying people who I knew could do this business, and I would reach out to them and I would pour belief into them why I thought they would be good at this business. And you said something earlier about not wanting to drag people. Like when I first thought I was building my team, it was with my best friends who I knew and I still know could be incredible, but they don't want this. Like, so I remember Jessica telling me, like, you need to focus on the ones who are working in the moment. And that is such an important thing. Like, because you said, this business is flexible. And if you need to take a break and if it's not something you can go all in on in the moment, you need to really focus on the people who are showing up every day and ask them what their goals are and map out a plan for them. I mean, I don't know, it's black behind me now, but last month, this whole wall was full of sticky notes for my team for their goals that they were trying to hit for the month. And so when you really start pouring into the people underneath you, your business just really can take off.
I love that. And I hear you. When you are going after your team's goals, you are going to hit your goal big time. Okay, what's your top tip for someone who's just starting out and wants to grow quickly?
I think number one, mindset is so important. I don't care what you did before or what you're doing now. And like you said, someone may have an advantage or a skill that you don't, but you also have something that they don't. Like God uniquely put things in each of us that no one else has. So I think getting your mindset right and saying like, I believe I can do this. And so what do I have to do? And then the second thing would be make sure that you're coachable. I mean, I think a lot of times I hear people say, well, I tried all that and it didn't work. And I feel like if you can just be coachable and you can go to your upline or your people who are having success and say, okay, I need you to tell me what to do. From the very beginning, I told Jessica, I don't know any of this. I don't know what I'm doing. So she would tell me what to say. We would get in three-way messages with people. I asked so many questions that I was for sure she was regretting ever taking me on a cruise with her. But just every opportunity. And then the other thing I would say is you have to treat this like a job. I mean, you wouldn't not show up for a 9-to-5 job and expect your boss to pay you. So you can't expect to not show up every day and work this like a job and be upset when you don't get the results that you could. I mean, it's totally just, it's a decision that you have to make every day. And if you make up your mind that you can do it and you're coachable, I mean, I would say that's probably the biggest tip.
Thank you. And in case you're curious, April just hit Emerald at the end of July, which means, yet again, if you missed it, she was a customer. She was a customer on a Plexus cruise, then decided to jump in. And from, I guess it was November till July. Yeah, that was her trajectory for hitting the first jewel rank, which means she's going to Hawaii this year. She's going to Hawaii next month with Plexus. Are you going?
Yes, I'm going. And I just want to tell y'all this really quickly. I hit Senior Ruby in May, and then I went to my first convention in June, and I had no idea that I was going to have 0 time to work my business because I've never been to a convention. My points, I didn't even re-rank Senior Ruby in June, but I decided I was going to go Emerald in July. And Roz reached out to me and was like, what are your projections? And I was like, I don't look at those because those say I'm not going to do it, and I'm going to do it. So
I love it. So you just decided and totally kicked butt and hit your goal. I'm really, really proud of you. Okay. Thank you for being on. I want to introduce you guys now to the mastermind who invited April onto the cruise, Jessica Coblentz. Jessica's been with Plexus for, I think, 8 years. And so, hey, Jess, can you give us just a little bit of background? Like, where were you, I guess, in 2023? Where was your rank? And where had it been in the previous years?
2023. Okay, so I was Senior Ruby. I started in 2016, right after I had my daughter. Had no idea what I was doing, just started. And it took me, I think I had my first brand ambassador because I started in July of 2016. I added my first brand ambassador in February, because I was like, all I wanted was customers. Like, I did not know anything about the business. I wasn't really interested in the business. I saw that I could make some money with the customers. And so I was like, I want to do this right. Like, it was terrifying me to get a brand ambassador. So I wanted to make sure that I could handle my customers. So I think I had like 100 customers before I even had a brand ambassador.
Wow. That's pretty incredible. So I want to know now what shifted you from wanting to take care of lots of customers, which, listen, we love our customers. We're always going to be taking care of customers. Everyone on this call, hopefully, who is a brand ambassador, I want you to know that where the sustainable income is in growing a team. So just what made you shift out of being only VIP customer based and shifting into growing a team?
So I didn't really know what I was doing in the beginning. I mean, like I said, I had been with a company, like I was selling oils at the time, mainly because I liked them and that was it. But in 4 years, I made $400. Okay. And so in my first month and a half with Plexus, my first check was $450. And I just had a couple customers and I was like, whoa. I just wasted 4 years, back in the past. But, and so I realized well, in a little bit of a backstory, I just had my 3rd child and my husband and I always had wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and do something from home. And my husband had said that I could stay home for 1 year and we would see how it worked without my second income. And so when she was 2 weeks old is when I started Plexus. And so when I saw that I was getting paychecks and each month my paycheck just kept growing, then I was like, okay, well, maybe I can stay home. And we decided I could stay home after that first year. And then I would hit a rank, and then I would hit, then I hit gold. And then it was like I kind of had a team and I wasn't really sure exactly what I was doing with this team. And I still was very customer focused. I wasn't like, still didn't understand the whole building a team kind of thing. And, but with that said, it was seeing what the possibility was in actually growing a team and the money that was there. And I could still help the people that I was helping with my customers, because that was what was so rewarding to me and still is the connection with the customers, and that I could have a connection with a team at the same time. And so that shift came when it was like, whoa, I could sit here for years. So like as you know, I've been in here 8 years, sit here for years and slowly hit a rank every year to year and a half. Or in 2019, maybe it was 2020. I think it was right before 2020. I decided I'm done. I'm kind of done sitting here. I'm done getting the same paycheck amount over and over and over. It's never getting lower. It's just getting higher, but it's not going as high as I'd like it to go. And I remember I didn't know Julia that well, but I reached out to Julia and I was like, look, I am in a place where I don't know how to get to the next step, and I'm ready to go to the next step. And I see what other people are doing, and I want that, whatever it is. I don't know what it's going to look like. And I remember she was like, well, let's get on a Zoom. And we got on a Zoom, and like it just completely changed everything. And it was just like, if you're going to do this, you've got to go all in. And so, I mean, that's kind of where it started. My shift started.
Okay, so I'm gonna piggyback then off the question I was gonna ask you about going through seasons where the business has been difficult, but it sounds like one of the biggest difficulties was just getting to a place where you really wanted more.
And I wanted more the whole time. It was just, I just couldn't find that thing that pushed me to want more.
Yeah.
And I knew, like, I mean, when I started this, and I remember Melissa Deaton came on, what I had, and like around that time where I went gold, senior gold, I had like 8 people working, and it was awesome and it was fun, and they were hitting their goals. And literally the summer of 2019, all of them quit. Every single one of them quit. They didn't quit the products, but they quit the business because life happened. And I was sitting there at senior gold, like, where do I go from here? Because I hadn't really built a solid relationship with their team members and their customers. And it was one of those where I was like, I've just got to start getting bold. And bold is what kind of became my word. And that's when Melissa Deaton came along, and she and I basically did our thing for about 7 years. Just really kind of the two of us. We'd have people come in, kind of come out. And I'm trying to think of what did you just ask me? I can't.
You did it. You did.
Going all over the place. I feel like when I think back on these 8 years, it's like, I mean, I've been really kind of all over the place, and the last like 9 months has been insane. So,
and like really, really affirming too, I bet, to be able to push to start last year at Senior Ruby, to go Emerald, and to now have gone Sapphire, guys, which means she's 1 rank away from the very top level of the company. Jess, now that you are a Sapphire, what do you recommend to someone whose business might be stalled out, maybe like yours has been in the past, and maybe it's that they need to dive into leadership, maybe they need to get bold? From your experience, how would you encourage them?
So in every area of my business, I have found several things. And one is really focusing on your mindset. Like everybody else has said that tonight. And that's however it looks for y'all. I am not a podcast person. I'm just going to be honest. I'm not a book person. I do love an Audible, but I have not built my business or my mindset off of books or podcasts. I have built it by turning to God. That is how I change my mindset. Now, again, that looks different for everybody, but when I tell you, I really get very close with the Lord and listen to what he's trying to tell me, and really literally hand over I mean, when I went Emerald, I remember sending April this last month, and I was like, on the 27th of the month on my calendar, I always write my points, my PV, how many ambassadors we have, and how many brand ambassadors. And on the 27th of the month, when I went Emerald, I was at 979 points on the 27th of the month.
So for
And
anyone listening, that means she had if you're not familiar with the point system, that's just the profit sharing system, but she had a long ways to go before her month closed.
long ways to go. And the same thing happened last month when I went Sapphire. My points I was about 70 orders away, a day and a half from the end of the month. And, you really have to, like what April said, if you look at or listen to what everybody else tells you, or look sometimes at what the numbers show you, that can put so much head trash in your head. Like, you are who you want to be. And I think one of the biggest things when I bring in business builders or talk to people that want to work this business is you have to give them the confidence to know that they are capable of selling and sharing these products to anybody and everybody. They are just as capable as to leading a team as I am. There's no one that is off limits. I mean, you got to look for people who are, busy people. Busy people work really well because they already know how to fill their time, and they fill their time wisely. And then another thing I would say is communication. Like, in everything I've done, communication is what got me to where I am today. So when I started, even though I started with those customers and I was very customer based, that is why my retention has never failed. Even when I was at senior gold and I had 8 runners leave, I still was able to keep my points. I never lost rank because I had that retention because of the communication with my customers. And then helping April build, helping Melissa build a team. I've got 3 other girls that I'm helping build teams with right now. And that comes with communication. You've got to get in there and figure out what their goals are. I'm in so many 3- and 4-way messages, but it is so much fun because I'm getting to know my level 4s and level 5s now and what their goals are and helping them troubleshoot. And I would just say those are the biggest things. Like, if you're feeling stalled, focus on your mindset, find a connection somewhere, whether it's with a customer or somebody who's done the business in the past. I've had so many people that have come back this year just because I had that connection from the beginning.
I love it. I love it. My encouragement, if you've been listening tonight and there's something about these 3 stories that kind of stirred you up or maybe got you interested, wherever you are, if you're not with Plexus at all and you're curious, please go back to the person that invited you to this call and tell them why you're curious about learning more. If you're a VIP and you're kind of getting enticed to actually begin to build a business, kind of like where April was on that cruise, go back to your sponsor and talk to them. And listen, if you're someone who maybe you're in that place that Jessica described where she was just ready for more, really wanted to get bold, and she felt God leading her into more. I want you to go to your sponsor, and maybe your sponsor's sponsor, if that person isn't active in the business, and tell them, I want to be pushed. I want to be trained. I'm ready. I want to get brave and bold. I want you to know that the community on this team is what really makes this business and this company so different. Our culture is to help each other. It is to come alongside each other, to pray for each other, to encourage each other. And I want you to find that no matter what happens with your business. I want you to find that. But I also want you to learn to be bold and to set goals and to spend everything you've got going for them. So guys, thank you so much for being on. We will post the recording to this later. Ladies, thank y'all for sharing your stories tonight. Y'all have a great rest of your week.